All right, welcome back to AI Podcast, everybody. As always, we're going to be talking about AI, obviously, all the latest news.
Most interesting things that have happened this past week.
Exactly. So consider this your,
A real quick update.
yeah, a quick briefing
To stay up to date.
on all things AI.
Yeah.
So, if you want to...
And then, of course, if you want to go deeper,
yeah,
we've got a deep dive coming out tomorrow evening.
that's right. Much more of a deep dive on the technology of AI.
More technical.
So, a little more technical. Let's jump into it. Where should we start today?
Oh, gosh. Well, so much to talk about, but I think that we should start with this study that came out from OpenAI and MIT.
Okay.
They were looking at the connection between using ChatGPT and feeling lonely.
Interesting.
And they found that frequent use of the chatbot seems to correlate with higher levels of loneliness, particularly among younger people.
Wow, so younger people using ChatGPT more often, feeling more lonely.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Is it a causative thing or a correlation?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's what the researchers are still trying to figure out.
Okay.
But what they did observe is that people who already felt isolated were more likely to be using ChatGPT.
Oh, so it's almost like they were looking for connection, and that's where they found it.
Or that's where they were finding it.
Yeah.
And some of the users in the study actually said that they felt heard
Oh!
and understood by the AI,
Okay, that's interesting.
which is kind of a plus, right?
Sure, yeah.
That they were finding some sort of solace there.
Yeah.
But
But it is AI, right?
yeah, I mean, it's AI.
It's not a person.
It's not a person.
Yeah.
And so that raises a lot of concerns about over-reliance on these types of interactions.
Right, like what happens when the AI is not there? What happens when you don't have access?
Exactly. Or, is that replacing actual human contact? And could that deepen the societal disconnect even more?
Yeah, so it's interesting. They felt heard and understood by the AI, but...
Right, and supported.
Yeah, but it could be making that loneliness even worse.
Right, if it's replacing human interaction.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one.
It is a tough one, yeah.
So it raises a lot of questions about, the role of AI in our emotional lives.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Should companies like OpenAI even be thinking about the emotional implications?
Right. What is their responsibility here?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And OpenAI has acknowledged the findings,
Okay.
said that they're working on safeguards.
Okay.
But we really do need so much more research into all of this.
Yeah, especially because these chatbots are getting so much better at...
Mimicking human conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Like the emotional
aspect. It's kind of scary almost.
It's getting very real, yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on to another development, Anthropic has just upgraded their chatbot Claude, giving it web browsing capabilities. Oh yes, Claude can surf the internet now.
Yeah, so what does that actually mean?
Okay, well that means that Claude can now access and process information directly from the internet.
Okay.
So before it was limited to the data it was trained on.
Right, it was a static set of data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now it can search the web and provide answers based on up-to-date information.
So it can do current events now.
Yeah, like it can even...
And it can keep up with rapidly changing information.
Right.
So news, things like that.
News, sports scores,
Oh, wow.
financial markets, anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
So now it's a direct competitor to ChatGPT.
Absolutely. And all the other AIs that can also
That are connected to the web.
do live search. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you, the listener, this means that you could ask Claude a question about a current event.
Yeah, something that's happening right now.
And it's going to...
Or something that has changed recently.
Yeah, and it's going to give you a response based on what's happening in the world right now.
So very exciting, very interesting.
Now, it's not available to everyone just yet.
Okay.
It's available on their Pro tier,
Okay.
but they're planning a wider rollout soon.
Okay, that's exciting.
And, it's important to note that Anthropic is really focused on doing this responsibly.
Okay.
So they are including citations.
Oh, okay.
So you can see where the information's coming from.
Great.
And they've also put in place some limits to prevent the spread of misinformation.
Sure, because that's obviously a
Right. A concern with all of this.
huge concern.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're trying to be as careful as they can
Absolutely.
while still bringing you, all this cool functionality.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on, Google also jumping on the AI bandwagon with AI-enhanced search results
In Gmail.
in Gmail.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is really about how they're using generative AI to understand natural language.
Okay, so you don't have to remember specific keywords.
Exactly. You can just speak to it naturally. Like you can say, show me the email with the file from Raj about the budget, and the AI
It's
will
amazing.
find it for you.
I mean, for people who have tons of emails, that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So much more intuitive.
And is this part of their whole Gemini rollout across their workspace?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
This is part of Google's bigger plan to integrate Gemini across all of their workspace tools.
So this is just the beginning.
Yeah, this is just the start.
Wow.
And, it's also...
And how does it even work?
Oh, well, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The system learns from your behavior
Okay.
and the metadata in your emails.
Oh, wow.
And that actually helps it refine the search even more.
Okay, so over time, it just gets smarter and smarter.
It gets smarter, faster, more accurate.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty,
It is pretty
it's a
cool.
development.
It is. And is this available now, or is it still...
Not for everyone yet.
Okay.
It's being tested with Workspace Labs users,
Okay.
but they are planning a wider release soon.
Okay, so, I mean, like we were saying with the last development, it really does feel like AI is becoming this kind of proactive assistant for all of these tools that we use.
Yeah,
And helping us be more productive, helping us save time.
absolutely.
And is Google saying anything about privacy with this?
Yes, they are very clear about that.
Okay.
They're saying that all of this data processing is done locally
Okay.
and securely within the workspace environment.
So they're not sending your personal information out to some third party.
No.
Okay, well, that's good to know. All right, so let's move on to a story that's a little bit more, I don't know, ethically challenging.
Definitely a little bit more gray area here.
Yeah.
So Clearview AI
Clearview AI.
has reportedly offered a U.S. police department a $750,000 deal
Okay.
for lifetime access to their mugshot database.
Wow, lifetime access.
Lifetime access.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So, as a reminder, Clearview AI, they are the company that has been scraping billions of images from the internet.
Right? From all over the web
Yeah.
to build their facial recognition system.
And they've gotten in trouble for that, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. This has been incredibly controversial.
Okay.
Huge concerns about privacy violations.
Yeah.
And so this offer,
Of lifetime access.
yeah, really raises red flags about surveillance overreach.
Okay.
The commercialization of our biometric data.
Right, because now you're not just collecting the data.
Right.
You're selling access to it.
Right. And lifetime access at that.
Yeah. So what are critics saying about this?
Well, they're arguing that these deals bypass public consent and judicial oversight.
Right, because it's just a contract between a company and
And a police department.
Yeah, police department.
And, Clearview AI has already faced so much global scrutiny
Yeah.
for privacy violations.
Right.
They've had demands for data deletion in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
And, the concern here is that police reliance on these unregulated AI systems could lead to misidentification. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially of minorities.
And there's a whole history of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With facial recognition technology.
Yeah, so that's a very
Valid concern.
valid concern.
Yeah.
And what about privacy advocates? What are they saying?
Oh, they are warning that this could normalize mass surveillance without sufficient checks and balances.
So it's almost like a backdoor to
Right, exactly.
surveillance.
Without any kind of accountability.
Yeah.
And, Clearview AI keeps saying that this is going to help solve crimes.
So,
But there's a huge debate going on about the legality
yeah.
and ethical implications of their methods.
Yeah, so this is a very ethically complex,
Very murky.
yeah, situation.
It is.
Okay, let's move on to a different area where AI is making its presence known, and that's the world of dating.
Oh, yes.
With psychological profiling.
Right. So some dating apps are now using AI to go beyond the basic profile.
Okay, so instead of just your picture and
your age and things like that.
yeah, they're analyzing the way you interact with the app.
Oh, okay.
How you write your messages, your
Gotcha.
overall activity.
So they're creating a much deeper
Much more detailed psychological profile.
psychological profile. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, they say it's to create better matches,
Okay.
to lead to deeper connections.
So you're more likely to have a successful relationship if you're compatible on that deeper level.
Right.
Okay, but there's got to be some ethical concerns here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're talking about potential misuse,
Okay.
exploitation of personal trace,
Okay.
mental health signals, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and do people even know that this is happening?
Right. Like, do they consent to having their psychological data analyzed
Right.
to that extent?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really unclear.
And I mean, are they even being honest about what they're doing?
Right. Yeah.
Or is this all kind of happening in the background?
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And, to make matters even worse,
Yeah.
some apps are even incorporating like gamified elements
Okay.
into the profiling process.
Oh, wow.
So there's a concern about manipulation there.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the whole ethics of it.
Right.
Yeah. So experts are understandably calling for much more transparency from these companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And clear consent?
Yeah, clear consent. And this is a whole new world, right?
It is. It is. It's kind of like, moving beyond just swiping left and right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
like AI is matchmaker,
AI matchmaker.
but on this like really deep level.
Deep psychological level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that a good thing?
Well, is it connecting us?
Yeah.
Or is it just putting us in these little boxes?
Yeah, and judging us based on those boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about another story that I think
This one's pretty intense.
this one's pretty sad and ethically complex.
Very, very complex.
So there's a mother who is currently in a legal battle with AI chatbot services
Right.
that have essentially impersonated her deceased son.
Yeah.
And they did this by using his name, his likeness, his voice,
all taken from his digital footprint,
which was available online.
publicly available.
So she's obviously suing them, right?
Yes. She's claiming that this is just adding to her trauma.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
It's exploitation of the worst kind.
Yeah.
And it raises so many questions about our digital afterlife.
Yeah.
What happens to our digital presence after we're gone?
Yeah.
What are the rights of our families
Exactly.
to control that?
Yeah.
So, this case is bringing a lot of attention to the dangers of deepfake technology,
Yeah.
voice synthesis,
Yeah.
when they're used without consent.
Yeah.
And it's leading to renewed calls for AI regulation.
Absolutely.
Especially around posthumous rights and
Yeah.
digital identity. So, I mean, this is a whole new legal frontier.
Yeah, like what even is this?
Right.
Is it defamation? Is it identity theft?
Yeah.
Is it something new entirely?
Something completely new.
Yeah.
And so this mother's fight for justice
Yeah.
could set a precedent for how these cases are handled in the future.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's a really, really
It's a very sad case.
sad and important case.
Yeah, and it's really forcing us to confront the dark side of AI, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as grief.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to something a bit more on the technical side.
Okay.
Cloudflare has introduced a new system called Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
Okay, and what is Labyrinth?
Well, it's a defensive system to prevent unauthorized AI bots from scraping website data for training.
So basically, it's stopping AI from stealing data
Pretty much.
from websites.
Yeah, because this has become a huge problem.
Okay.
These AI bots,
Yeah.
they're getting really good at mimicking human behavior
Okay.
to bypass filters.
So they look like real people.
They look like real people.
Yeah.
And they're scraping all of this data
Yeah.
to train AI models.
And is Labyrinth actually working?
Well, Cloudflare says that it is.
Okay.
So what it does is it uses behavioral analysis
Okay.
and pattern recognition
Right.
to identify these scrapers in real time.
So it can tell that it's a bot,
Exactly.
even if it's pretending to be a human.
Right. It can see through the disguise.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And it's a response to the growing concern
Yeah.
from content creators.
Yeah, because they're the ones who are making the data, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're worried about their data being used
Yeah.
to train AI
Without their permission.
without their permission.
And without being compensated.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So what can Labyrinth actually do?
Well, it can tag and track these scrapers.
Okay.
It can give website owners tools to block them
Okay.
or even demand licensing fees.
Oh, wow. So they can actually make money off of this.
Yeah, so it's
That
really
sounds
it's
like
an
some-
interesting development.
Nice.
It really reignites the whole debate about the ethics of data scraping,
Yeah.
especially from public websites.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more lawsuits
Yeah.
from publishers and artists
Yeah.
against these AI
Yeah.
developers. So Labyrinth is kind of like, an effort to empower data owners,
Right. To give them
give them more control
Yeah.
over their data.
In this AI age where data is
Right, so valuable.
so valuable. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about how AI is actually helping us consume information
Okay.
in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
Google has announced that they are using Gemini,
Their new AI.
their new AI, to create summaries of podcast episodes.
Oh, yes, of long podcast episodes.
So for you, the listener, this means that you can now get a quick gist
A quick overview.
of a podcast
Exactly.
without having to listen to the whole thing.
Right.
So if you're trying to decide
If it's worth your time.
if you want to listen to it, you can just read the AI summary.
Yeah, and it highlights the key topics and insights.
Yeah, so this is another example of Google trying to integrate AI into
discovery.
how we find things.
Yeah.
And it's using the same AI that's behind all their other stuff, right?
Yes, same multimodal AI that powers Google Search and their workspace tools.
So very powerful AI.
Very powerful.
And this is available now.
So it's available for a limited set of English language podcasts right now,
Okay.
but they are planning to expand it
Okay.
based on feedback.
Okay, and what are podcast creators saying about this?
Well, there's some cautious optimism.
Okay.
They see the potential for increased visibility
Sure.
because more people might discover their podcasts.
If they can quickly get a sense of what it's about.
Right.
Yeah.
But, of course, there are concerns about accuracy
Yeah.
and potential misrepresentation
Right. Can the AI really capture the nuance of a whole
of a long podcast.
Have a long podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is another one of those developments that raises a lot of questions about the role of AI in our lives.
How much do we trust the AI?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can AI be a gatekeeper?
To information?
Or information. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
It's a very interesting question. Yeah.
But I think for a lot of listeners,
Yeah.
this could be a really useful tool.
If you're pressed for time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Okay, let's wrap up with one last story.
Okay.
LexisNexis.
A legal technology company.
The legal technology company, they're taking an interesting approach to AI.
Yes, they are.
Instead of using these massive large language models.
Right, which everybody seems to be doing.
Yeah, they're focusing on smaller.
More distilled AI models.
Okay, and why are they doing that?
Well, they say that these smaller models are actually more efficient for legal assistance.
Okay.
They can summarize documents,
Okay.
draft memos,
Okay.
offer legal insights.
And they can do all of that.
And they do it at a lower computational cost.
So it's cheaper
It's cheaper
to run?
to run.
Okay.
And they're also claiming that these smaller models are faster,
Okay.
more interpretable,
Okay.
while still maintaining a high level of accuracy for legal tasks.
So they're basically saying that smaller is better in this case.
Yes, that bigger is not always better,
Yeah.
which is kind of a
That's a very interesting.
counter-narrative.
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody's been focused on these huge, massive.
Right, like bigger is better.
Yeah, bigger is better, more powerful.
Yeah.
But they're saying, no, actually, we can achieve really good results with these smaller, more focused models.
Exactly. And the key is the fine-tuning
Okay.
and the targeted training.
So training it on specifically legal data?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so this could actually open up the door
Yeah.
for smaller firms to adopt legal AI
That makes sense.
without having to
Invest in all this.
invest in this huge infrastructure.
Yeah, crazy expensive infrastructure. So yeah, that's really interesting.
It is.
And is LexisNexis saying anything about whether this is going to replace lawyers?
Yes. They're very clear about that.
Okay.
They're saying that this is designed to support lawyers,
Okay.
to improve their workflow,
Okay.
not to replace them,
To make them better.
to make them more efficient.
Yeah.
And they're also emphasizing their commitment to responsible AI
Okay.
with very clear guardrails
Okay.
on legal advice generation.
So they're not just letting the AI run wild.
No, they're
AI.
very carefully controlling it.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really interesting approach.
Yeah, it's kind of like a shift towards practical, scalable AI
Yeah.
for industries with high accuracy and confidentiality needs.
Right, because the law is all about accuracy
Exactly.
and confidentiality.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting.
Mm.
All right, well, that's it for our news roundup this week.
And be sure to tune in tomorrow evening
Yeah.
for a deep dive on the technology.
That's right, we're going to be talking all about the tech behind all of this stuff.